Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Houlihan. I work as a forestry specialist with Teagasc. Today's presentation will consider annual planting levels, indicative forestry returns, the timber demand and supply situation, and trends in timber prices during 2020 and 21. And looking to next year, we will cover future realizable timber volumes, market outlook, forestry in relation to climate change mitigation, before some final messages. New planting in 2021 is projected to be approximately 2,000 hectares, down from 2,434 hectares last year. Unfortunately, this continues a reducing trend and frames the extent of the serious challenge for 2022 and beyond. 2021 has been a year when forestry licensing remained under major pressure with well-documented impacts. Project Woodland was established in February this year to address key issues. The second interim report provided updates on developments across the scope of Project Woodland implementation, and updates included initiatives on developing a vision and strategy for the sector, a full regulatory review of forest licensing, which is expected to be completed in February of next year. Also proposals on pre-application discussions and planning grants for new forest creation. Feedback from the sector highlights continued urgency in the need to increase and sustain the flow of afforestation and other licensing approvals on which the industry is fully reliant. In tandem is also the need to support farmers and landowners in terms of re-engaging with the forestry option as a complementary land use and building confidence on the many merits of planting. So a major challenge for next year is to reverse this reducing trend and build positive momentum. This slide provides an indicative comparison of forest returns for 1 hectare of a mainly conifer and mainly broadleaf forest over their respective cycles. The conifer species on the left is Sitka spruce, granting premium category 3 on a mineral soil with a 33-year rotation, incorporating standard requirements of a 15% inclusion of broadleaves, with a further 15% of the area set aside for biodiversity enhancement, or ABE, as described on the slide. The selected broadleaf species on the right is sycamore, reflecting Grantham Premium Category 5 on a 50-year rotation. The Teagasc Forest Investment Valuation Estimator, or 5 for short, uses discounted cash flow analysis to bring expected future costs, shown in red, and expected future returns, here shown in green, back to today's values, using an assumed discount rate, in this case 4.5%. This discounting allows the calculation of the net present value, which is simply the overall net revenue generated by each forest type and expressed in today's terms. So we see the net present value for a mainly conifer forest is over €8,400 per hectare, while the equivalent for sycamore is over €5,500 per hectare. In order to allow indicative comparisons of forestry scenarios, 5 generates the annual equivalent value, or AEV, which simply expresses the net present value as a series of equal annual cash flows over the forest life cycle. The indicative AEV for a mainly broadleaf forest on the right is €292 per hectare per year, while the conifer AEV is significantly higher at €491 per hectare per annum. If all costs and revenues associated with forestry land use are compared with all costs and revenues associated with agricultural land use, then the per hectare forestry annual equivalent value and family farm income can be conceptually equivalent. On that basis, the forestry returns indicated can be very competitive when compared at an indicative level to those returns for some agricultural enterprises. Looking at timber markets, exports of forest and wood-based products in 2020 are estimated at 446 million, which is down 20 million in value terms compared to 2019. Quilta reported log sales in its forestry division of over 2.3 million cubic meters in 2020, down 400,000 cubic meters from 2019 due to reported licensing challenges. Wood import purchases by industry, including from the private sector in 2020, are currently being compiled and validated. If we look at the top destinations for forestry exports in 2020, the UK remains by far the most significant, accounting for 78% of our forest and wood-based exports in that year. And the UK will continue to be a key market for such products in the future. The graph on the right shows the country of origin supplying wood imports to the UK in 2020. And UK Forest Commission data indicated Ireland supplied 5% of UK sawn softwood imports, 17% of UK particle board imports, and 33% of the UK's fiberboard imports in 2020. Looking briefly at timber prices, and published timber price information has not been available during 2021. Wood Price Quarterly, which is collated by University College Dublin in conjunction with the Irish Timber Growers Association and provides very important private timber prices, was not in a position to provide price information this year due to insufficient data supply. Despite this lack of published prices, industry sources reported record prices for logs during 2021. The table on this slide presents indicative timber assortment prices in euro per ton between July and September based on feedback from industry sources. It should be stressed that these are mill gate prices, and mill gate prices are those paid by the buyer for timber delivered to the sawmill or yard. In this scenario, the forest owner pays for the cost of harvesting the forest and haulage to the sawmill or processing point. Industry feedback also indicates a recent drop in timber prices of between 15% and 20% from earlier levels during 2021. And it should be stressed that timber prices vary according to a wide range of factors and so are indicative. This graph shows updated COFORD forecast of net realizable roundwood volumes, which are potentially available to end users up to the year 2040. And this was published in July 2021. It includes potential supply from private and state-owned forests in Northern Ireland, represented by the brown and red colours respectively. The Quilta realizable supply is forecast shown in blue, and the private forest supply from the Republic of Ireland is shown in green. The total net realizable volume is shown in purple on the upper part of this chart. The forecasted private realizable volume we see increases from 1.74 million cubic meters in 2020 up to 2.65 million cubic meters by 2025, at which time private supply is forecast to be equivalent to the Cuilta supply, shown by the intersection of the respective curves. Post 2025, any significant increase in roundwood supply is forecast to come almost exclusively from privately owned forest in the Republic of Ireland. So realizing this future supply will be critical to the sustenance and expansion of farm forestry supply chains and timber processing sector in the future. Looking at timber demand for 2022, firstly, the domestic situation, and the Ulster Bank Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, is a seasonally adjusted index tracking changes in total construction activity over time, and readings above 50, as shown by the dashed red line, signal growth. So from the graph, October was the 6th straight month of growth in 2021, as the Irish construction sector continued to rebound following the easing of COVID restrictions. Also in October surveys, there was a reported confidence about a 12-month construction outlook, with sentiment above the long-run average levels linked to expected release of pent-up demand supporting construction growth. On the back of the rebound in construction activity in 2021 and the continued economic growth outlook, a now turn for dwelling completions is projected to be in the order of 21,000 units this year, and for next year, expected completion levels of just over 26,000 units are forecast, which is a positive signal for domestic timber demand. At international level, significant European timber supply deficits were reported during 2021, with overseas exports to North America and Asia cited as contributory factors, leading to a shortage on the European market. UK timber imports increased significantly during 2021 to meet reported very strong demand, with softwood imports reported as being 33% higher. UK timber market demand is forecast to remain positive for 2022. For example, in their autumn analysis, the UK Construction Products Association predicted robust growth, with output forecast to be 3% higher than pre-COVID levels in 2019. Sustainable forests provide a range of ecosystem services, including their role in locking up atmospheric carbon. In January 2021, Teagasc, in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine and FAIRS, launched a forest carbon tool, which provides indicative carbon sequestration values associated with different planting options under the current forestry program. The example shown outlines the sequestration trends for GPC tree, as described earlier, over 2 forest rotations, with an indicative average annual sequestration of over 6.8 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per hectare per year. Broadleaf species generally have a lower annual sequestration and also show strong cumulative sequestration capacity, but over a longer time period. COFORD recently issued a series of statements highlighting the critical importance of both forests and forest products in helping it achieve our commitments addressing climate change. In its statement on forests, land use and climate change, COFORD makes important recommendations in terms of sustaining and building the role of forests and forest products, and a considerably expanded forestry program is an important outcome. The statement on the impacts and adaptation to climate change identifies key adaptation measures to future-proof the outputs of goods and services from Irish forests and build resilience to future climate challenges. And finally, the statement on the role of wood products outlines the benefits of enhanced wood use and the importance of a whole life cycle approach to evaluation of emissions in the built environment. Finally, looking to 2022, and feedback from the sector puts the urgent need for an increased and sustained flow of licenses as the top priority and concern, while observing high environmental standards. In tandem with this is the need for a sustained reduction in licensing backlogs. This is deemed essential by the sector in supporting the forest and forest products industry, which provides essential employment in rural economies. Supporting farmers and landowners in re-engaging with the farm forestry option will also play a very important role in 2022. Ongoing support to forest owners to promote sustainable forest management requires a continued and innovative response to research, knowledge sharing and training. And the need to progress forest certification is also coming into sharp focus and is required to ensure continued access to important timber markets and to foster competitive advantage. From a timber demand perspective, despite the serious challenges outlined, the forest sector is well positioned to capitalize on existing and future market opportunities, both domestically and in the key UK market. And engagement with timber processors who continue to invest in the most advanced technologies indicates a positivity that challenges can be met, timber markets can be grown, and competitive prices can be available for quality timber in 2022. And again, these are contingent on adequate mobilization of timber from our forests. Finally, the new Common Agricultural Policy will be finalized in the coming period, and feedback highlights the critical need for a positive framework to support afforestation at national and farm level in the coming years, with appropriate alignment of agriculture and forestry schemes. So I will conclude on that note, and can I thank you this morning for your attention.